So it's now saying this meeting is being live streamed. So this is where we start behaving ourselves. I don't think so. Right. And so we'll just do the admin side of things. I'll just go to my phone and go to my page, and then I'll tag you from there.
Beautiful.
Okay, so that's that. Write a comment. Don't tell me what to do. At ceremony. That'll be part of that mother wound.
That definitely is.
Oh, at Lisa Raven, and if I do that, then like that, and send it to you.
Beautiful.
That's gone to you, so you should be able to go
I think
from
that'll be
there.
on my I won't look. It'll be on my page, and so if anyone tunes in on my page, it's there, isn't it? As well, that's great. Thank you.
That's all right, Lisa. And what I do then is I also upload this onto YouTube as well, and so I'll just put this stuff in my what's the name? Hang on, let's go here now. So Tamara's here. Hiya, Tamara. Nice to see you.
Hello, Tamara.
Lisa, my love, it's so nice to see you. Happy Christmas and Christmas week and festivities and all that sort of business.
Yeah.
I've been looking forward to this chat because sometimes we have a laugh, don't we? And sometimes it gets deadly serious.
It does. It does.
Yeah, and I've got a feeling it's got to be both of those things today. So we've called this the repairing the mother wound. I have my different sort of understandings of what that means to me. But what does it mean to you?
What does it mean to me? So I see the whole of the separation programming in every facet of its knowingness from us is like, you could liken it to an alphabet, you could liken it to another set of scales in music, you could liken it to something else other than what we've been having. So if we repair it, we're bringing everything back, which is the sonic frequency of what mother is, because everything other has been a distortion programming on all of our consciousness in every way. And so it's not just a physical 3D, your mom, your real mom, your grandmom, and all the distortion that we've had through lineages of life. It's actually the great birther, the great knowing, the God complex, the complexity of how we shape ourselves. So we're starting to bring these frequencies back, aren't we? And these frequencies are way beyond any name that we could have it, because we've only just been speaking English for 500 years, and all the other sounds that we've ever made. And there is this remembering that we do that is so beyond us. And if you really want to tap into it, you'll find that that's a mother. It's a mother seed. It's a seed of consciousness. It's always that. I call it harmony. And the harmony is always searching for us and seeking us out. It's entirely up to us how much we want to dissolve the barriers to be there, because we know it so well. So maybe it's source, maybe it's more than source. What's behind that? Maybe it's so much more, Joe. What do you think?
Yeah, see, that thing that happens when we're in line online is with me, so that always means like, carry on, son, you're on the right path. What does that mean? I resonate, as they say. If we're talking about sound, that was a resounding clarification of how I feel about things as well. I see that the darkness, and we've all been sort of guided away and believed that darkness is evil and all that sort of nonsense. I see that's the mother womb. That is the source of source. I see that.
Beautiful.
And I got a picture a long time ago, like a big black balloon filled with water, right? And then a prick. Now, don't get me wrong here, but I'm just going to say the word. Something pricked it. And then all this sort of energy started to flow out like plasma or water and stuff like that. And I got, Joe, that's representative of the Big Bang. And I did, I get stuff in my mind and I've got no idea what it means. It takes me about 10 years to work out what it all means. But I reckon that was representative of the moment of creation, if you like,
Absolutely.
Whatever that means. And in the beginning was the word, and I think the pop was the word, and then light was formed from that, and where I'm up to now is, I think that the fall from grace really was a misdirection of this loving, caring, compassionate mother energy. And I think, as you've just described this, that was the misdirection away from our true alignment of our soul's purpose. On purpose, yeah.
That's
absolutely
right.
On purpose, for a reason of the soul's education, actually. You know, I think it was a fragmentation. We didn't know I was going to talk like this. You know, we were going to tell jokes and things, but it was a sharding, if you like, or a fragmentation of the whole mind of God, whatever that means. And then we go through a process individually about putting the pieces back together again. Beautiful. And I think that we've all got to work together like a big patchwork quilt to sew our bits up and to get back together again so that we can reconnect with the whole picture. Lisa, that was good. I'm gonna play that back and think that wasn't bad, that son.
That's great. I had a similar thing, you know, that there's voids and voids and voids, and every time over the years, I feel like I've been here a million years, Joe. I probably have, you know, if not more and more. And I can honestly say that that's a real feeling within me. And I'm remembering so much of this other space that's available. But every time I've been looking into that other space, I get, like you, the story of, oh, it's because we've had to go and create everything that's availably possible to have a look at it. Because we've filled all of the space of all of the time that we've created, and there is no more space and time left. So we've all created all of it. We've filled all the gaps. And now we're coming back to self. We're removing the old distortion programs that don't serve us and sit us, because we've done all that work. And now we can just go, oh, I'm going home. So I'll pick that literally up and I'll fill it back with my mother's grace, my grace, my light, my love, me that knows that space. And it's really important. Yeah. Fill the gaps.
The end of times. Yeah. And I see that. What I see that is that humanity's going through, if you like, a rock bottom where we've done everything that can be done, like you've just said. We've come to the end of what's this about? It doesn't seem to make sense anymore. And of course, it won't make sense anymore because our sensitivity levels are increasing, our radar's expanding, but we've got nothing to compare it to. Right. And so really, we almost have to either be terrified and anxious and worried about what's coming up, or surrender and say, come on then, just give it to me and I'll do the best I can with what I've innately got in here. I'll try and use my abilities, right? So that would mean, in a way, that we'd have to turn our eyes the other way around and look and really be honest about what our skills and abilities are, and also to be honest about what we can't do as well, because I feel that once you realize what you're innately and naturally good at, you can stick with those strengths and you can allow somebody else who's got different abilities to also fill the gap in there as well. You know, and that's where I'm up to. I've been reconnected with the 12 sphere, true tree of life, you know, and we've talked about this before. And I honestly believe that every single human being has got access now to those 12 different dimensions or streams of consciousness. But we just need to be able to find a way to simply plug into them, or plug into the individual one that's needed one day at a time.
You know what, you're absolutely right. And I love how you likened it to a tree of life. We are our own unique trees of life, plugging into another mainframe tree of life, which is another beyond there. I like going beyond there. Do you know what I see myself? I see myself as a little tiny cell coming into another body inside here, another, and then there I am. And then there's more and more and more and more going back to source. It's like, and here I am waving like, hello down there. You know, I'm here doing this thing. When I first started to kind of channel, or what I thought was channeling, it's really just speaking to yourself, but you don't know that, and you don't never know that you're really doing that. Because it's like, oh my God, there's angels. Oh my God, there's everything else. You know, it's like, oh my God, I'm seeing a dragon. All the things that is happening. And our dragon consciousness is imperatively ready for all of us to be alive with, because now we're coming into proper base, what I call base. So I'm going to go back to what I wanted to just say about the music. And my first ever channeling was, I asked Archangel Michael, how do you live? How do you exist? What is it that you exist on? Because I don't understand I'm seeing you in scalar wave, which I didn't know the name of, what it was. I'm seeing you plain as day, but what is that? Because my brain can't comprehend the whole complexity of what that light spectrum is doing to me when I'm looking at you. And he said, I'm like an octave. I live on love, and I relinquish each time I go to the level of the note, and I relinquish it, and I move into, and I'm like, oh my God, that blew my mind. It started me off into a whole heap of questioning on lots of levels, as it does, right? There is a moment that opens a door, but the door is the one that keeps you on that track. It's the proper doorway for all of us, and it's like you remember that, and if you can forget it for years, then all of a sudden you remember that thought again, that whole connection, because it just, that's what's happening to you. And it's the mystical world, isn't it? The whole point of entry into places. Do you feel like you're brand new right now?
Well, I feel like I'm brand new in that I've got no idea what's coming up, but I have this really deep underlying feeling of optimism, even though in the 3D world there seems to be a disintegration of everything taking place, which is absolutely necessary. You mentioned imperatively. Imperator means emperor. It means general. It means, it means a commander, really. And I think that this is all about, at the deepest level, self-mastery. Right.
Yes.
And I think we need to change that, to be politically correct, or self-mistressy, whatever you want to say, just to keep everybody on our side, But the whole point, I see the octave thing, and that's why I've been given this thing, chromato-optogenetics, and it's the use of sound and light. And chromatic means light. It means the diffusion of light particles, right? But it represents the chromatic scale, right, which has got 12 notes on it as well. I didn't know that at the time, and I'm saying, because I say to me, like I'm talking to me, I say, what are you going on about? You'll have to give me that in a simpler way, because this thicko down here hasn't quite got what you're saying up there, so I have these conversations like you all the time with myself. But they said, Joe, different frequencies will open different gates and different portals. Some people need to go to number 3. Some people need to go to number 12. And that will start to rebalance and realign them. And I don't see a linear thing, 2D thing. I see a spherical thing where the human really, or the soul, or the Merkaba, or whatever you want to call that thing, the morphogenetic field, call it what you like. I see that some people, by sinking deeper into themselves and becoming more aware of these subtle clues that they're getting, will be able then to realize, hang on, I've got to spend a bit of time in number 4 here. And they'll be able to get in touch with the frequency that opens the portal, that allows the library of consciousness to come in, to give them the information they need to take the action on. Good God. Over to you, Lisa.
Perfect. So I would liken any number 12 to a 12-dimensional set of scales, 12-dimensional wisdom protocol, 12 chakra system, 12 planetary alignments, and 12 mansions all open at one time. Because it's not just one thing. It's like, go on, let's have the whole thing.
Well, yeah, have some more than 12 disciples, which are 12 disciplines, which are 12 skills. There's the 12 stations of the cross, which really are experiences that every human has to go through in order to feel the feelings of those different dimensions. There's also the 12 cranial nerves. There's the 12 meridians, because the cranial nerves... say again?
12 senses.
12 senses. Well, and we mustn't forget the number 13, because 13 is back online. It's Ophiuchus. It's the Christ consciousness with a K, and it's the governor. It's the governor, because I see the 1 plus the 12.
Perfect. That's right.
And that's how I see it. And I think, in order to get the 12 to behave themselves and stop rabbling against each other and babbling and kicking off with each other, that the self-mastery bit, which is Christ consciousness, has got to open through feelings, through surrender, through acceptance, and basically by saying, ego saying, I really don't know what to do here, so I surrender completely. Please try and give us a clue on what I need to do in order to be aligned to my true soul's purpose.
Perfect. So the 12 archetypes of self will battle with each other and go, which one shall I be right now? Oh, I'll be the king. I'll be the emperor. I'll be the queen. Or I'll just be in my lack consciousness and I'll think something else. I'm the poor one or whatever. Is that the choice is always ours to which frequency we want to sit in. That's what I was given this morning. Which frequency would you like to play with today?
I couldn't agree more. And that choice is always ours.
Yes.
Right. And I think that if you understand how to regulate and allow the heart to stay open and stay up into, if you like, the higher heart or the higher wisdom, that's how we change our gestalt or our polarity. Right. Yeah. And that's why we can stay not above so much, but in a different sort of openness. And I think that's the way to go forward, because I look at this picture behind me. This is a picture of Norwegian winter, you know,
with the sun coming out the tree.
It's so beautiful that our planet is absolutely and utterly full of beauty, you know. And you know, Pythagoras and all these sort of Plato and all those, they said that really the whole purpose of life was to discover truth, beauty, and something else which I can't remember at the moment, you know. And I think it is about that. It's beautiful, but we bombarded all the time with fear conditioning, negativity, blah de blah de blah. I think if you can become aware that that's like a sort of, not a trap as such, but it's a sort of it's the stage upon we learn to become fearless and basically humble. I think humble.
So it goes back to where we started, and that whole chasm of experience we've come to have. Once you've experienced that feeling of fear or entrapment or whatever that gives you, in once you've had enough of that, you know, you then go, oh right, I'm going to change it. I'm going to do something else with this now, because I don't want to have this anymore. So what will I do? And then you expand into a new bandwidth, a new frequency of light, a new arrival of new information, because you've asked the question. But we can't do anything till we've had enough of something. And we're looking outside and we're looking inside, and then all of a sudden it's like, oh, actually it changed. There's something else happening now. You can always tell the people who've done all of the work, or because there is people who've done all of the work, Joe. You know, I meet many people. I keep my circle small now, but I meet many people who have done all of the work, and there's a frequency exchange that has no words. You know, normally you're walking around, you're being with lots of people, and because you've done loads of work, you can literally look at somebody in a facial picture and you go, oh, no judgment whatsoever, because it's not there. It's like, oh, that's happening there, don't look. It's like because it's an instant knowing, and this beautiful gnosis once you have all these wonderful pictures put back into place. You know, these thrones occupied by yourself, these spaces and these gaps cleared and now removed of whatever has been in there. Because, you know, as long as we don't go in and stay into judgment too long, we don't create another thing. So we're really learning how to move the karmic valuation of things really out of our systems. And so we're moving now into a place of real clarity and real transparency. Hence, everything in the 3D arena of theatre is like going, oh, let me show you this, let me talk about this, let me, you know, because it's important. And everything's now, I feel, and this is what I was getting, is the world now has shown everything that's possible outside itself. And so what will we do with all that information? And we are all in different speeds and frequencies and times, and we all collect our data at different, you know, rates. And some people are just waking into the world. I see when I was in America last year, I got this really beautiful message from the guardians of the Taos Mountains, and they said, we're leaving. And we're just leaving, and then I'm watching all the way around the earth going, oh, they're all leaving, because we're all stepping up.
Yeah.
And people are all waking up and they're all stepping into the places we vacate. And I'm like, oh wow, the frequencies are really now, but because time and space is because we've exposed it all to everyone and everything, and the transparent, and there's nothing hidden anymore. There really is nothing hidden.
No.
It's really, really out there. It's now, what will we do with it, and how will we do it? And like you, I've got this absolute ton of joy arriving for what's coming, because I see it that this system that's been here, there's another system that has been coming at the same time that's just going to go, okay, no more, that's enough now. And I really feel like we're in it, we're of it.
I couldn't agree more. I feel exactly the same. I think more than anything else is I call this show Getting Real with Dr. Joe, because I can see now in my own life how pretentious I've been without understanding me pretentiousness, really. And I think, it's
how
not a big deal.
How important was that to understand what it meant? It's wonderful, isn't it?
Oh, absolutely. And I think everybody needs to go through that. And I think that that's what's happening, because the truth will set us free, but it might kick the shit out of you on the way out. You know what I mean?
God.
And I think all we need to do is surrender what's not working for us, which we might even still think is working for us. So it comes up, it emerges and says, is this how you really want to behave anymore? Now, then we don't have to jump in and change the behavior. We just have to say, will you take it away? And it flushes away, or unless, of course, we have to take some action. And this is quite important there, because I don't think that we can just sit there and say, oh, yes, that can go now. I think sometimes in order to, karmic rebalancing and new equilibrium and whatever, we've got to sometimes go back and say to a person, listen, I'm so sorry that I've hurt you, and I apologize. If there's anything at all I can do to reset the balance, then of course I'll do the best that I can. And I think sometimes they're the steps of humility, Lisa, that I was afraid to take for many, many years, until I got to the point where it's either, Joe, you're going to have to die, or you're going to have to live. And in order to live, you're going to have to find some courage and take the steps so that you go forward. And I think I decided to hang on a bit. I asked for the courage. I got the sort of courage to go forward, to approach some people directly. And as soon as it did it, Lisa, as you know, as soon as it did it, there was an energetic rebalancing and more power flow into the system then. And I think that that's what true empowerment is. It's a karmic rebalancing through action, because the pathway of karma is a pathway of action. Absolutely. There are things where you can go back to yoga as devotional, and there's all sorts of different things. But I think the pathway that I chose was one of action, right? And less reaction, really.
And it leads to forgiveness, doesn't it? I mean,
and I think forgiveness is nobody outside of us forgives us. It's us taking the hook out and rebalancing. Right. So it's an energetic process, isn't it, really?
And because it doesn't always have to be in the physical world, because every world needs to be occupied by you. If you can't really get closure with another person for whatever reason, you speak to the higher self. Because I always say on many occasions in relationship, partings, it's like, I'm just going to speak to the higher self now, because I can't speak to the person anymore. And so when I speak to the higher self, I know that there is great love here, and I know that, and there's only great love there. There's no other thing involved in that. And some of my biggest lessons have been able to bring the forgiveness into those places where you've been hurt the most by the people who really, really love you, because that's the value of what they gave you in soul level, soul consciousness, that we shared it. We came in with these contracts going, oh my God, I'm going to learn that. Okay, you're going to make sure that you give it me really good this time. I'm not coming to do this one again. So we get broken in many pieces many times by those that we love the most, and it's on purpose, because we chose it before we got here. I believe that.
I believe that wholeheartedly, that I am 100% personally responsible for everything that happened to me.
Me too, Joe.
No, 100%. And that to me represents my personal freedom. If I can accept 100%, then I am responsible for everything. Absolutely. And I think that the soul sets up the scene and the players every single day through which we march forward to, call it, learn new lessons, experience different experiences and feelings. And I think that's the soul's evolution. And we signed up for this before we came here. Honestly, I mean, I don't believe that. I know deep down in me that that's the truth. you know, and I'm happy with that.
I get it. I also know through all of the clearing that I've done over the past 30 years is that there's also parallels of me. So sometimes I'd get a little bit confused going, yeah, but I'm not doing that. And I'm having these images of this. It's like, oh, hang on a minute. What's happening? Which aspect of me and where are you and what are you doing so I can fix this karmic bond that is also me? And I think that's the 12th dimensional wisdom that we're coming into, right? You know, it's also, we're removing the veil from what the spirit world is. You know, the whole spiritual conjecture of people passing over, that's it, that's their life, and that they're over now, and it's not the truth. The veils are so thin now because we're going to come to a time very shortly where a lot more people can see the elementals. A lot more, they already are, and they're going, oh my god, I saw this thing, you know. It's like, yeah, I mean, for my world, it's been like that all my life. It's a normal thing for my, I had to work out which bloody dimension I was in, you know, all the time. Joe, I was sectioned once, not knowing what the fuck, seriously, sorry, what the fuck, or where the fuck I was. And I could not get a grip on this reality because I couldn't get in my body properly. There's a whole heap of stuff that goes on with that. This is 25 years, well, nearly 30 years ago now, but there's this wonderful life that we have is not just one. And what I realized is many, I've already had many lifetimes choosing to be in this body. And this is what's really leaving the world. This concept of time-related death programming, because it no longer is a thing that we can join up with. Our kids don't have it. Their kids are not going to have it. They're bringing real future self into play. And that's got no death program whatsoever. We're going to start living again for hundreds and hundreds of years. Isn't that wonderful to come into this place where we can live in an environment that's so beautiful, because these are cities of light that are happening. Our whole history is a distorted, fabricated, bullshitting lie. That's what it is. And we're just about to remember who the bloody hell we are. And I love it. I'm so excited for humanity. I can't tell you. It's so exciting to me. Sorry, that was
No, that's great. That's because when we do this, we've sat, haven't we, and we've talked about this. And in 1987, I was diagnosed with schizophrenia, psychosis, and everything else. I was locked up. I was hospitalized in a psychiatric ward 3 times, right? I was going off my head because all this stuff was piling in, you know. And like you, I've been super sensitive, seeing stuff since from an early age, you know, not understanding, saying to my mother, and my mother saying, "Oh, stop talking rubbish," you know, and all that.
Trust your imagination.
Yeah, shut up. Go and sit over there while the priest's here and speak when you're spoken to, and all that. And we'll get onto the mother, repairing the mother wound in a minute. But yeah, so psychotic episodes, medicated to the gills with like largactyl and walking around like an ape and stuff like that, but not realizing that that was really another big kick up the arse to say, listen, you, this is what the reality is about. And if you just pay attention to what we're telling you and don't be listening to this, get in here and ask, and we will guide you every single breath on how to do this. And when you're doing it, and when people see you starting to get better, they'll say to you, how are you doing that? And just pass the simple message on. This is how you do it. Just become aware of your breathing and your emotional state. And that's all you need to do. Just sit, become aware of your breathing, focus on the heart area and the heart and soul, give yourself a bit of a snuggle, right? And just gently breathe a beautiful, loving feeling into your heart, and then breathe it out again. Oh, surely that can't work. It's too simple. Yes, dickhead. It's as simple. Yeah. And it's right under your nose, but your nose with a K, you know what I mean? And I think, you know, calling this Getting Real with Dr. Joe, it really is simple. But this thing, and this is how they distract us all the time, audio visually, this, oh, look out here, look out there.
Too much information.
Yeah, too much information. So information overload. I didn't know how to process my emotional state, being hypervigilant and hypersensitive all my life, you know. And this is one thing my mother used to say, you know, butterfingers, because every time I touch something, it's like I touched something and picked it up and go, ooh, that's a bit, you know, and I drop everything all the time. I know what that is now. because I'm also a massage therapist now, and I'm good at spotting where obstructions are in the energetic places of people's bodies, you know. Lisa,
I just saw the light coming out your hand.
yeah. But you don't know this, do you? This is the whole point. Is
We're
I
not taught
didn't
it,
know
are we, darling?
myself because I was
Absolutely.
programmed into some sort of external moral code that didn't fit me at all, you know. But I'm glad that I've gone through all this stuff now, you know, because I feel free,
But
I feel expressive.
We had to go through this stuff so that we can come out the other side and say, this is what you do. This is how it works. These are the experiences. And when people come to you, I completely know exactly where you are. There's a facet of my understanding because I've experienced that. You learn to trust yourself and your own judgment. And before that, you don't have it because you're told what you should say. You're told what you should think. Your own judgment goes out the window. You then go into fear programming because it's on purpose, because you're hypnotically programmed by the bloody telly all the time. And we're all stuck, you know, 70s kids just put the telly on. So, you know, it's a thing. It started, didn't it, for all of us? You know, and then where we are now is reclaiming all of that, because most mums are the ones that supposedly, not every mum obviously, but most mums would have put you to bed, would have said, be quiet, don't do that, kids should be seen and not heard. My mum used to say to me, you wear your heart on your sleeve, you got to get harder, you know, what are you doing? You know, I'm like, I don't even know what that means. I don't know what that means. It's literal. I don't wear my heart on my sleeve. You know, I'm like, it's here, you know. But the thing about mothers is that we're conditioned by them, whether they're there or they're not.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely.
It's a lacking, it's a complete lack in consciousness. And for mothers, I'll tell you now, for mothers, they're so overwhelmed with the information that they have to hold, because the programming that has come down the lineage of time for mothers is that they do everything, they hold everything, and it's through their knowing, but they don't have a say. No. And they don't have a thing. They don't, you know, it's like and this is now coming out. This is now changing, because as women and men, women take their power back and want the powerful self to be realigned back to the divine truth, back to the divine union. And we're all getting it, whether we know those words or use those words or not. This is happening en masse for all of us. And there's this new type of, and everything's programming to me. I call it programs, because I think that we're just this absolutely beautiful biotechnology suit in a biotechnology mainframe, in a biotechnology gorgeous dreaming place. And all of this is, and this is here, isn't it? It's like, and all these chemicals run it. And depending upon where you put your thought and your secret frequencies or whatever you've got going on, it changes your environment. And this is a biochemistry. I call it a biochemistry unit. It's funny.
I call that more simply psycho-neuro-endocrino-immunohematology.
I can't remember that.
No.
I won't remember that.
Simply, right, how we process information, we all process information slightly differently. Therefore, our perceptions of the world will be slightly differently. Why don't we just say, without judgment, and when somebody says, how do you see it, Joe? So you say, I see it like this, right? And there's no one jumping in to say, that's not right. Then you pass it on and say, how do you see it, Lisa? So it's almost like there's all sorts of millions of eyes picking up slightly different information and processing it, so we get a bigger picture of what this world and this universe is all about.
That's exactly what it is. All those eyes, they're all the thrones you occupy in all space-time. We're in a continuum, aren't we?
Absolutely.
So we go from lattice work grid networks in holographic replicated versions of ourselves doing the same thing, and every now and again we bounce on the same thing. Oh, hello. We just do this and we get it. And so when we bounce on the same thing of a replicated holographic version of ourselves, we literally get an amplified version of what that is, because we're having, it's like playing games, really. It's all a game. It's all
I think it is now, and I see at the deepest level this thing that you've just described, this biotechnology suit.
Absolutely,
right?
it is.
It is, and I see it. I
Absolutely.
see it like that. And in a way, and I hope nobody gets offended by what I say here, but in a way, the body-mind complex of the human being is immaterial in its materialness. It's secondary, really, to the experience that the soul's going through. Now,
Absolutely.
that sort of can, if you see it in one way, alleviate the understanding of what suffering's all about, you know. But at another level, it always it sort of takes away from what the human being is about as well. So I think that we have to have some sort of a balanced perspective on really what I understand, because I see stuff happening now that's absolutely atrocious, and I don't feel connected to it anymore. Whereas the old Joe would go, oh, it's so terrible. And I was like a victim then of that emotional state and was useless. I feel detached now. This is called compassion. As far as I'm concerned, sympathy is almost like cold. Empathy is warm, but compassion is cool. The three different, completely different energetic understandings, really. And I think compassion is detached, but with love. Yes. Whereas psychopathy is detached with no love whatsoever, you know. So there's different sort of differentiations there. I don't know what I'm going on about, so I'll pass over to you.
I think it's wonderful. Well, I think that when we've learned to compartmentalize everything. So, you know, even in those spaces and that thinking, we can still do that. It's lovely, because we get more of an understanding on who we are and how we tick and how we work things out. You know, I know that our quantum reality is coming into a new way of being through us, and we don't really have the language or the technological jargon that computerized biochemistry wants to meet us here in this physical temple world now. So we are now creating something by being able to engage with it. And to me, it's more like, that's where I'm more like a game. So if you're, say, for instance, you want to take something off, like an energetic program that's causing you such distress, and you start to dive into the world of it. So you got to use your imagination, don't you? And you got to go, what does it look like? What does it feel like? If there was a black hole, put your hand in it, take it out, what's in there, blah, 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 all that stuff. And then I go, okay, it doesn't feel very nice. Why don't you put a beautiful white suit on with white, you know, like you're going into some nano lab, and you're going in and you go like, because it can't touch you. Because what we're trying to do now is to marry up the synapses where fear doesn't exist. So you use your technological advanced information that comes in through the computerized highways of imaginative play, because we are just an imaginal cell after all, like creating itself and creating itself and creating itself, or seeing itself. Actually, that's what I call, I'm consciousness in touch with my conscious awareness, playing in the field of consciousness. Where would I like to go?
See, I understand this perfectly, because I get like Atlantean, because that's high tech stuff, you know, and I get Antarctica because there's a lot of stuff going on in Antarctica.
Absolutely that.
So I've got
technology. It's coming.
It is, and I get Jor-El, you know, that was like Superman's father, because I always get the father type figure thing, you know, like like Uther Pendragon and you know, and all these Osiris, and I get all that sort of that energy coming in all the time. So I get that one, but Joe, the sacred feminine is a magnetic energy. And listen what I'm saying now, Joe. This is not an electromagnetic effect. This is a magneto-electric effect. Beautiful. As the feminine energy is coming in now on force, right? And it's actually impacting. So it's magneto-electric. It's impacting upon the electrical system. That's called your nervous system. But it's also impacting. It's impacted upon the way that the fourth phase of water works in your neural pathways, and it's flushing it through. So any obstructions based upon pride and fear will be washed away, and you will be cleansed and left with a blank slate, except you will still have your innate abilities as you as an individuated soul. So you do have a purpose, Joe. It's different from everybody else's, but you are as important as everybody else, because you hold the harmonic key to putting the world back together again. Huh?
Fantastic. That was fantastic. And that's right. Absolutely.
So how do we do it? How do we do it simply, Lisa? Simply.
How do we do it simply? Well, you have to come into a place where I think it's trust. You trust yourself, right? You trust yourself because only you know you. Only you hear your thoughts. Only you know your feelings and your emotions, electrical motion. And then you go into a deep space in your own heart and you go, what do I want to do? What do I really want to do? And so it's not because we get lost in that question. It's not who am I? We're evolving, so we can't ask that right now because you might turn up as an elf, you might turn up as do you know what I mean? It's like you're all of the archetypes and all of the wonderful beings playing. So what can I do? It's like in the moment, it's just one moment, Joe. It's just this big in your hands. That's all you have. Everything else I've said, every word I've spoken to you, it's gone. No longer exists. It's somewhere playing itself out into whatever cognitive place it wants to play. And what I've said, what I haven't said hasn't arrived yet. So it's on the other side of my hand, but it's all playing into this now. And the choice is mine. This now, do you know what I always choose? Freedom. I've come here to be free, but I've had to learn absolutely everything. And my mum started my whole journey off by not being here. For me, when I was I think I was 1, and I've got 4 siblings. And for me, that was my incredible, first core program, abandonment. And the world has been abandoned. And that's where you start from. And I think that's a beautiful place to be. Because when you've got an empty cup, you got to fill it.
Absolutely.
And that's enough, isn't it? That's enough. It's like, right, so what do I want to do? I want to fill my cup. What does my cup look like? My cup's bloody big now. It's like a golden chalice. Like, yes, and it's brimming over. And then we have to think about, how does your cup look? And then there's that saying, is it half full or is it half empty? But what if those two concepts, because that's your magnoelectric, what if they just moved out the way? What if it was always brimming over? Then what would that make you feel like? So you're going back into this emotional space. If you already had everything you needed, instead of coming from this lack, so we have to come into this space of knowing. And how do we want to know that? Well, we have to trust that actually there is another thing. So it's taking the old glasses off, really.
I have that trust. And
yeah.
what I have is,
it's taken a lot of work, hasn't it?
Yeah, I have an ancient font, right? And I go in, this is my place. And I go into almost like go through the hole in the tree and down these sandy pathways into the rocks. And there's doors on both sides, but I can carry on and you can hear the water go bloop, bloop, and I carry on and I go and sit down. I've got like a little inner guru in there that's like baby Yoda, right? And I go in there and he's sitting on the edge of this font and it's just coming up like that. I've got it now with me, it's coming in with me, right? And he's saying, hiya, son, how are you getting on? And I can go and sit down with him, chat things through and saying, look, I'm thinking about this. Well, what about that? What about this? That's the thing that I trust more than anything else. But if I get any sort of weird, outlandish stuff, I also chat that through with some very close friends that I've got as well,
awesome.
Who know me like more better than I know myself. And if they said to me, I think that, you're misaligned there, I don't mind them saying that to me, but I do need to talk it through with a human being as well, because this thing can have me off God loads of times. I mean, got me into so much trouble, so it's sort of getting a balance through opening up and being honest with another human. And I think that that's what true humility is. You can think that you know yourself, but not until it actually comes out and gets expressed and, can a true sort of clearer picture. I don't know why I've said that, but it's just...
No, because we're back to sound. And you see, in Genesis, not that I'm Bible-y, but I want to say, in Genesis is what they call the beginning. In the beginning was the sound or the word, and the word was God. And God is the concept of what because it's not a thing or a real, it's a perception of something that's created a sound.
Yeah.
So when we're uttering the sound, because I do this and I say it a lot as well, and I went, this might not be what I want to say. This might not be the right words that are coming out. But what I do know is when I start talking and the sound and the words come in, I then get clarity because I'm making the right sounds. And that, you know, instead of trying to be correct, we've got to give ourselves a break here, haven't we? Instead of trying to be politically correct, which is what we're taught all of the time. It's just allow your sounds to come out, correct it along the way. Oh no, I go, oh no, that doesn't sound right. Let me just rub that out. And this is what I want to actually say, because I can hear my sounding itself into a clearer space, because that's who we really are. We are a spherical sound wave on purpose, moving into a new field of conscious awareness that we're now totally aware of. That's your compassionate awareness. And as we become more compassionate with the sounds that we want to create and the sounds that we want to make, the more that we know the mother that is the motherboard and the mother language and the mother concept of coming into this new frequency, which isn't new at all. So we're remembering ourselves through our water.
Fantastic.
Droplets of water on your tongue.
Fantastic. And this is what I get is from the depth is I get
yes,
and it comes in with such power, but then it changes in frequency as it goes through. So harmonic reconvergence really. And I see my throat as like a flute. You know, it's got beautiful. A flute with different, and so really, unless this is clear, and I see that the heart is almost like the bellows that provides the spirit, because spirit means wind. So then we can do that, and then if you get good at like playing one of them, then you can get into you know, and it goes. And then see when I'm doing this now, I'm getting this. It's like a bloody great big vibration that's coming up through me. And I know that this is how it's supposed to be now. I don't understand it, but I understand it. You know, this is the thing. It's this paradoxical, no ordinary idea, right? Understand everything all at the same time, really.
Absolutely.
You know?
So when I caught you, I didn't catch your last show, but I caught the one with Elsa. And when you were talking and you were bringing what you described to me before as dragon language, I'm like, oh, that's his indigenous self. I watched him kind of step into your energy field, like, oh, there he is. I used to have a chief. I called him Chief. He's actually called Morning Star. But I saw him as this beautiful Indian chief. And he used to come in and he put crow, he put crow, literally slapped it on my head. And then I started to sing with him. He would sing through me and he was very guttural like that. And I felt like every time he sang through me, he would take me through the layers of the earth going down. And so what I was seeing that you were doing was like, it's your portal opener self. It's your gateway to the inner realms. You know, and I'm like, oh, I'm going to tell you that one next time I speak to you. So thank you for that. Yeah, amazing. Isn't it amazing?
Well, Elsa calls that, because I did it a few times, and it's getting more. Being. Yeah, she calls it the before maketh man, right?
Oh,
so it's
yes.
It's almost like, so it's before humankind, it's the rocks, it's the Everest, it's the power, you know.
Absolutely.
And it's condensed space dust, which she calls frozen mud, because I think that plasma contains all this understanding. And, you know, Lisa, I've said to you before this, I don't know, but as it sort of evaporates, because I think that we're going almost through a sacred evaporation at the moment, where, beautiful. You know, but it's also to transcend and include what's gone before. So we'd never lose anything at all. It's just that we're working from different skill set now and things like this, really.
I also get, and you're absolutely right, I also get that the more of the joining up of the magno-electric nets that we're coming into play with that are of a higher frequency, the more of all of what we were before being known through us, the removal of the distortion overlays are going. So what we're really seeing and hearing is all of the ancestral wisdoms, and they are all the sediment. They are all what's in we are standing upon layers and layers and layers and layers of millions of ancestral lineages of lifeline. And lifeline. We'll have life. I like lifeline. And as they're all now coming into frequency with us, because the belt's been taken off, we can hear very, very well that which still is through us. And we're coming now to a space. Do you know what I'm seeing as I'm talking to you? I'm seeing this absolute light coming into zero time, this absolute moment coming in, and this clarity of information, this real, and it's not just transparency, it's because we've got transparency. So now it's like the evaporated time is what you're calling. It's now come into unification, the whole real unity of light in unity with us and us with it, and moving into that. That's a time, that's a space-time continuum concept of knowing and deeper understanding. So that's the consciousness being consciousness of itself. We're going to keep that.
It's good.
We're going to keep that because these cities of light were built and known and being remembered, and they're being anchored again.
And I think the magneto effect of the right hemisphere, which is the sacred feminine, is coming in. So this is the union that's happened. If we get out of the way, it's automatically happening. It's quickening all the time. And when they both meet, that's when time stands still.
Yes.
You know, and I know that you've experienced that, and I have on several occasions, where everything stops and you understand what everything is about, right? And I think that people are getting more and more of that now, you know.
Yeah, that's the sacred sun, birthed from the mother. That's the sacred sun.
Right.
I wanted to know that moment, and so I was given. I literally went up. I was a little spaceship. I came out of my meditation, put my Merkaba up. I saw myself as this little black spaceship, and I went, "Oh wow, I'm a spaceship," and zoomed straight up into the middle of the sun. And I knew that I was in this plasma awareness. And it was all orange, and I went, for the first time ever, oh wow, everything is still. This is what the sun really is. It's not at all what we think it is. No, not at all. And then the mother concept of that birthing through that solar stillness was like, it became this consciousness, and everything I knew, everything was available just to know through the. Of course, that's the pineal gland. That's the Christ consciousness. It's not just the pineal gland, is it? The pineal gland helps the hypothalamus. You know, the hypothalamus is the one that takes it around the gland so that we can experience the whole thing. But we'll come back into all these awareness. You come back into your body, you go back out again, you come back into your body, and everything that you get out of here, you pull back in. But how about to find the mother and the unity consciousness of what that mother complexity is? How about you go inside your body? How about you go and find where the sun actually resides in your body as an organ?
Yeah.
What is it doing in there? Because I think that's how people who can't quite find and fathom what it is and can't get out of their head, if they go inside their body, especially if they're ill, and talk to that organ, what does that organ do? What is that organ actually giving life to through you? Or is it helping you manifest through your life? That's how you get in touch with the mother, I believe.
I couldn't agree more. And that's why I think that they call that the solar plexus.
Beautiful.
Because it's the
I'm so glad you said it. I didn't want to.
Yeah, it's the solar complex, isn't it? And I think that's where a lot of obstruction is, because it's part of, again, it's the sort of the entry point, if you like, into the heart, but that would be the lower heart. And I see that most of us have just been revolving, and we get to, like, if you look at the first 3 dimensions, if you like, right, and then we move up, then if we got out of the way, we'd automatically ascend into the higher heart. But because of fear and pride, we've just been going round in the same old revolution for eons and eons of time now. But we've been given, on purpose, yeah, but we've been given a clear indication now, and this is what I've been getting for about 2 months now, is where is the arrow going from Sagittarius's bow? And I'm saying,
oh, very nice.
And I'm saying, hang on. Look at the arrow, look at the and I get this. Well, okay, show me what you mean. And again, it's to do with Ophiuchus, right? And it's also, Joe, Planet Earth does not come from the Milky Way galaxy. It comes from the Sagittarius dwarf galaxy. And I'm saying, I have got no idea what you're talking about. And again, yes, you do. It's the opening of the portal to the next dimension of human evolution. Right.
Fantastic.
Okay, then. Well, what do we do with that then? Just help people to sit and just to surrender and ask this deeper part, will you please help me to get through this portal? I'm going to try and say, I'm going to breathe in this way. I'm going to keep the feelings going. And I'm just going to allow you, if you like, to transport me through to these higher heart, higher frequencies.
Beautiful.
Here's something else, Lisa. Just let me say this. This is, in the last 2 months, I've been bombarded with two things. The Norse gods, and I didn't do Vikings or Norses, but they're on me all the time now, you know. And first of all, I was getting all this grandfather stuff, you know, and all that. And then I've been moved now from Odin, right? Odin's gone now. So it was like the grandfather figure. I've been moved now from Wednesday to Thursday, right?
Beautiful.
And I keep getting Sledgehammer. You know that song, Sledgehammer?
Yeah.
And it's almost like into like a spiritual warrior centaur type thing now. That's the energy that's driving me at the moment.
Perfect.
And sometimes it seems a bit overpowering and a bit cut through, but I really feel now that more and more the masculine, right, is stepping up into more of a protector type role now, right? Yes. Guided by the compassion of and the wisdom of the sacred feminine. So there's the other thing. The other one is, and this will not leave me alone, is Mesopotamia, the Tigris and the Euphrates, the Delta, the letter Y, you know, again, and those two tributaries, if you like, right, unifying into one then. So there's that whole area of Iraq, right, how important it is, southern Turkey, all that sort of business. I've almost like been moved out of ancient Egypt and back into Sumerian and Babylon as well now. I'm not fully understanding what it means, other than it's almost like I'm being taken back to the original starting point, right, where the injection of the future came in. So that's where my mind is at the moment.
It's exactly right. And what's really happening is the Mother Stargate is actually there and opening, and known that it's opening. Everyone knows it's opening because we're all feeling it, and we're feeling the information overload that coming in, and we will then remember it through aeons of time. We will pick up all of our times that we activated through that portal, came into the awareness and worked with it as a unified field. Because, as you know, I'm also getting a lot of Tartaria for so much, but I've been doing Tartaria for a few years now. So everywhere I go in churches and cathedrals, I'm always activating them. I'm always seeing that the light is always, because these are the cities of light. So we never really had a dark ages. We know that it wasn't a thing. It really wasn't a thing. And we're coming now to the understanding of our own stargates opening in the passages of time, and we're remembering the skill sets that we had in those times as beings of light on our earth at that time. Or perhaps not just our earth, perhaps also the parallel realities of this parallelogram that were playing out in continuum star seed consciousness and doing all kinds of wonderful things at the same time. And we're remembering we're at a pivotal time right now where all of it is completely available. So all timeline mergers. So I'm not at all surprised. You know, the Vikings, absolutely massive. And since I did the opening up of, oh my God, the work in Ireland was just beyond. Honestly, the Grail work in Ireland is just, so we went over, and sometimes I go, I don't know what I'm doing. I just don't know what I'm doing. You know, okay, so what is the Rishi consciousness? Who is the LOI? What is the Ophanim? And why do I have this, like you, right now it's so massive in my energy field, I can't get it out, can't stop thinking about it. I am all of it. I am all of it, and I'm going to go and do something with whatever those starseed concepts of me are, and I'm going to put it into place. And as soon as you do the work, you feel good, you feel better. It's like, oh, because we can't possibly think that we should know how every avenue of information tries to come into this poor little tiny brain. to understand, because we do literally have 4 brains to get here, don't we?
Yeah,
you know,
absolutely.
and most people are trying to play with this one. It's like, go out here and look from here, and you will know how much you've actually got, because your library is so full up, and you're millions and millions and millions of years old, just this planet. So imagine coming in with all of this, and sometimes when you have to bring your codes because humanity is doing flip-flops, and you go, okay, time for this little piece of the puzzle just to go there. All of you who is ripe for plucking for information, every book flips open at that page going, this one, this one, this one, this one, and here you are. That's how I'm going to explain it anyway.
No, I understand the 4 cardinal points, because I see the globe, right? I see the coordinates now. It's not linear or stages, because some people can come in and they might need to do south by southwest, where somebody else needs to go and do north by northeast. You see what I mean? Right. Yeah. And so you come in as individuated souls, because the soul does have an individuation. It's got a purpose, it's got a key, it's got a harmonic, call it what you like. So we're balancing all this out now together in order to fulfill that whole thing. So I see the 4 cardinal points also represent the 4 chambers of the heart as well. Beautiful. Right? So it's working on that as well. The heart isn't a pump. Actually, the more you get away, the heart's actually an energetic structure with 2 streams coming in, if you like, the Tigris and the Euphrates. There's an Eros energy, which is light, and there's gravity as well. And so gravity and Eros, if you like, which is the life force, need to be balanced. So we've been out of balance in that as well. So this is not just about being balanced energetically, it's also being aware of our physical posture as well, and how our musculature and how our organs have been sitting. So things like hatha yoga, exercise, breathing, mindfulness, all these things, swimming, running, anything that makes you feel alive and vital, they're the things that will put you back into place, because the energy will then shift you back into perfect alignment, so that you can understand fully what the purpose of your existence is. Yeah.
Awesome. I know. Yeah, it's the truth.
And don't be afraid, you know, because there's nothing to be afraid of. I keep getting all the time, son, we've got you covered. Son, we've got you covered. Right. Son. Am I all right to swear? Yeah, keep swearing, because people can recognize, right, that you're an ordinary person just trying to get through like everybody else. Keep swearing.
I've started swearing more and more. And
Did you met me?
At Christmas, I think I won't blame you for that. At Christmas, I actually bought 2 people a fuck it planner. Yeah. And it had this whole, you know, and what one person was really shocked. I gave it to her and she went, I've never had anything like this. And I went, I want to explain to you, we've come into this place where we put emphasis on things, and the words, the swear words, we say it, it's one of the best words that we can actually put into play, because it has the right frequency, the right tone, the right inflection of the thing that we want. And the more you do it in joy, the more you literally reprogram what's going on here. Because we've been told that all of that blasphemy of conscious awareness, things you can't say, that, you know, it's like when we say it because we can, in joy, in joyful expression, it changes everything about you. It really, really does. I think everyone should swear.
I agree. Actually, I mean, they call me Dr. Effin Joe. Dr. Effin Joe, as you know, but recently it's actually curtailing itself now. You know, and I think I get no, Joe, your audience is going to change, because you're going to go back to more scientific explanations. So in order to grow in understanding and effectiveness, you probably have to, you can throw in a nearly one, so that you go, oh, we nearly said a swear word then, you know what I mean? Because I do like to play that one, you know, just chuck it in to see what happens, you know. But yeah, it's fascinating. I love talking to you. We have chats like this where we just bouncing stuff off all the time. I just want to mention one more thing now.
Can I say one thing before you go, before you change?
Yeah.
The age of being offended is over. Yeah. That's literally it. Because when you're offended and you take offense, you're at war. You're in war consciousness, and we need to go not offended anymore. So thank you for that.
No, I agree, and it's part of what I understand now, and what I've understood is, you take offense, so therefore you're responsible for it, you know. But if there's nobody home, there's nobody in there to take offense, just stay empty, you know. So, you know, my dad used to say, go west, young man, and make something of yourself, or go east, young man, and make nothing of yourself. You know, the idea would be to have a foot in both camps, but just don't take the bait, because every time you take the bait, it's your ego, because your divine self can't be offended because it just loves all the time.
Beautiful.
You know, I just wanted to say about this thing behind me like that. Sight, Sirius C. It's massive. Honestly, it will not leave me alone. And I get Joe, tell them that it does exist, because that's part of the triangulation, and it is the unifying force that will bring mum and dad back together again.
Yes, right? It will. And it's also the water. It's also the sacred water that we hold very, very dearly. It's what's in your chalice, Sirius sea water. That's what I get. I have a wonderful experience of Sirius sea.
And me too. And we've shared that before, you know, and it's big with me. I don't make it up. I just clear my head and stuff comes in. I'm not trying to think, or, you know, but I did a talk with Kristen the other night, you know, I was talking about this, and she works with 8 blue beings. Well, I got the blue beings as clear as anything, but I get that Sirius C, but also that other portal as well, because everything's connected. I don't fully understand it, but I feel that it's all falling into place now, you know.
When I first came into the perspective, or even understanding or knowing or hearing about Sirius C, because I didn't know Sirius C existed. It was just A or B. And it, you know, the concept of it wasn't within my head. And someone said, where do you come from? Out of my mouth popped Sirius C without any thought whatsoever. And I'm like, oh, Sirius C, I'm going to go and look for that. I went into meditation. I became this absolutely massive black, I know I was a black crustacean, like almost like a big sea snail. And I said, it gave me the word transmogrification. And exactly right. I'm like, how are you talking to me? And I'm like, transmogrification. I went, right, how do I know that you know, it almost looked like it had a beak shape as well coming in. I went, so how do I know that, you know, you're really speaking to me? Do you have a mouth? And out of this mouth came these amazingly long pink fronds. I'm like, oh, but it jolted me in my physical awareness to absolutely be in this reality that I was really receiving this. And I am in the waters as this beautiful, massive, humongous crustacean sending out signals from Sirius C. That's what I know I'm doing. How about that?
Fantastic. No, honestly, it's fantastic, because what I get there is the connection to B and A, and B is the whales, it's the dolphins, it's the oceanic, but the sea is like a combination of all this. It's oceanic consciousness.
Beautiful.
It's like the womb. When you did that, then I got thought and thoughts, you see, and all that coming in. So I don't know, Lisa, it's all working, but more than anything else now, I'm just going with it. You know, I did have, and I've got to be honest, you know, I thought I can't really be talking about all this publicly, because what about me professional reputation? And I go, Joe, just give it out, right?
Absolutely.
And just do not worry about that side of it, right? Because we've got that covered too, you know.
And that's the truth. We're coming into a new alignment where, as I said, everything is transparent, which is for the past few years, we've been looking differently at mental health. We've been talking about, there's a lot of shamanic information that comes through about people who are making breakthroughs in their psyche. We're also got so many more networks of light that are opening this information of unifying the self, and there's a lot more talking about us being galactic in proportion to not just being humanity. So it's all available. We have got to come into place with all of this. Sirius B for me, I am a young blue boy sat in a ship delivering codes. When the frequencies are, in fact, just before the COVID jab came out, about 5 months before they rolled out the COVID jab, I sat beaming myself. I didn't know I was a young blue boy. I'm telling you now, I didn't. I've seen many beautiful beings, so many beautiful, but I didn't know at that point, beaming from my ship is this beautiful, almost elfin type looking blue boy from Sirius B, beaming through a ship, helping me connect a new type of frequency and dismantling the frequency they were sending out into the world. And I'm like, okay, that's what we're doing today. Sometimes it's so big.
I get the blue girl, right? The blue girl.
Lovely.
Right. With the white diamond there like that, with the beam, it's like a laser beam.
Beautiful.
So same thing. And that's the thing I get. That blue being for me is the feminine equivalent, I think, really.
Absolutely. There's always a third eye connection. That's how they come into our awareness, because this is the only spatial time that we can actually have them occupy, because they can't come into here. The frequency is a little bit denser. Our belly's gurgling, our organs are doing a thing. When we become a lot more lighter, when we're much more in our crystalline conscious awareness body, we'll be able to flit in and out of these beauties that we really are with a lot more ease and grace, instead of going plop. It's like and I know that I love that it sounds like it's normal, because you know what, it's all normal and normalizing for a lot of people, and they don't have to understand it now. They just have to open the door, listen to the context, and go, right, what fits me, what suits me, I'll keep that, stay there, work with that. But somewhere in our beautiful libraries is all the information we need, and it's just one day at a time, one moment at a time, and everything is all right, because we're back online in that great mother loving arms and awareness. We're now being held again, because we're turning inwards to that place. We might not say those words, but we all are, because
it's coming home. The feeling I get is the coming home feeling.
Yeah,
it's the snuggled into the breast of the sacred mother, and I feel sad saying that, but
which is true. Also the hills. The breasts are the hills and the contours of information that the earth is holding back with us. She's calling us to action. She's already shifted, and she's saying, hey, I got it all going now. Let's go. Let's go. I
agree.
Come on.
I agree. Yesterday, I just said, just give us a clear clue, because I say that, I get them all the time. I say, a really, really clear clue, please, because I've been having all sorts of time leaps, quantum jumps, and everything else into God knows how many different dimensions. Anyway, I went on YouTube and I put this thing up, and it came Somewhere in Time. That's one of my favorite films there, with Christopher Reeve, and I go, okay, there's the Superman connection, right? And I got it up, and it was a collage of Somewhere in Time. It's Christopher Reeve and Jane Seymour, and I was watching it and I just burst into tears again. Aww. And the same thing happened to me when I was over in Solargy as well. When I met Kristen as well, never met her before. We did the light language conversation together, and I just burst into tears, almost as if I was coming home. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And those things, Lisa, are happening, and I couldn't give a shit now. I just let them come. I don't care what's happening. But I just believe now more and more people are just going to be opening up, and if they can, is to relax, allow it to happen, right, and just sort of sit with it, and it will clear itself if we just don't try and overanalyze it really more than anything else.
We're becoming maestros of the occasion instead of trying to find how to do it. We're allowing the information to come through us, and I think that's what the mother concept is. When you're feeling held, when you're feeling that it's available, it just happens. You're no longer searching, because you feel safe, don't you, in that feeling? You feel a little bit more contented, and so it's happening regardless that we're being in these places. So more and more of this can come through. I'm so glad that you did all that Solargy thing. I just love that you met Kristen, and I love that she opened that place, because that's what light language do. We are so much more in our sound, and when we do get out of our way, our soul wants to speak the languages that it understands, and we're multi-dimensional. We're omniversally dimensionally aware of the languages that are spoken and have always been spoken everywhere. Why would we not want to connect with the sounds that we make? It's a natural. So as we're clearing the distortion fields, as we're becoming more transparent in the frequencies that we're coming back to rightfully, we're coming more and more online, aren't we, in this place? So I wanted to share something with you, Joe, about, so I was talking to my partner and we were talking about what is it that men need? You know, if I could say, I'm being called to work with men. I've never really held just men's groups before. And I'm thinking that this is a great mother concept, actually, wanting to kind of emerge and say, hey, I'm going to come and hold this chalice of wisdom here, and you're going to feel a new expression, not from me, but through yourself, because it's going to be available. And the information I've got, listen to this, remove the Mobius loop. I'm like, oh, I've heard that before, the Mobius loop. And on the Mobius loop, it kind of does this, doesn't it? It's like, so the node imprinting, the bit that you can't see is on the back. Have you ever tried drawing across it? You can't, you're going to come off, aren't you? Yeah. So that little back thing, that's now going to be exposed because the Mobius loop is now switching around so we can see it. So the symbolism as the basis of change, we can find a new imprinting along there. So that, and we're going to get a new rapid induction clearing program within ourselves when we think about it. That's what I was given to gift today. So look at your Mobius loop.
I will do that. And this is what I got when you were saying it, is that in order to help men, you know, women just, you know, there was a film called What Women Want, right?
Right.
And it's to go and it's to open our heart and say, look, this is what we want, you know, and that resonance, right, will hit them in the heart as well, because we're all programmed, as you say. I believe everything's a program. We're programmed to believe these are the things that women want, and it couldn't be further from the truth.
That's right.
So it's just basically saying, look, I can only speak for myself. I'm going to open my heart, and this is basically what I feel I want. Right. And I'm pretty sure that a lot of women feel like this too as well. And that heart resonance, right? Because I go to an all men's group. It's to do with Alcoholics Anonymous, but I go to an all men's group. And we're not talking about, oh, yeah, yeah. It's not all that. It's about, oh, and, you know, when she left me, my heart was broken. So there's all sorts of fellas, of fellas there crying and saying, and I was afraid of the dark till I was 38 years of age. You know what I mean? So it's also like more and more fellas now are becoming honest and opening up to what they've kept down for a long, long time. So maybe that's the backside of what's coming back around again.
That's the
now.
Trusting, isn't it?
It is
coming back around. That's
and
right.
it's to get away from any exaggeration and all that macho shit that goes on, and it's to say, look, and it needs somebody to lead the way to say, look, well, I don't feel like this, actually I feel like this. Absolutely. And then you can see the eyes go, it's like the lights go and they go, my God, I'm not alone, you know. So
yeah, well, that's the Lisa, survival or the thriving, isn't it?
Oh,
that's
yeah,
back to the surviving or thriving. What is it you want to choose to do? That is your relational proportion. It's on there.
Lisa, I love you. Thank you so much indeed. We didn't get to talk about what the theme was really, but maybe another time.
You know.
Oh,
we did. Yeah,
all
we
right.
did.
Okay.
In many, many ways we did. Perhaps there's another one. It was touched, for sure.
Oh, I think there's another one coming through sooner or later. So thank you, my love, and I hope
you, Joe, for inviting me.
I hope you have, I call it Happy New Year, you know, so we've got to get naked and be truthful about stuff, you know.
Absolutely.
All right. And,
thank you so much.
Thank you, and keep in touch, and I'll speak to you soon.
Lots of love. Bye-bye.
And thanks, everyone. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye.